My name is Jo Yarrington. I teach at Fairfield University, and I teach printmaking and drawing and also a theory-based class. I'm going to follow up with what Shirley said. I went into printmaking because I also like to draw, and they didn't have a drawing major back in the day. So I thought printmaking was the next thing for me, and I actually focused on lithography, which was a challenge and intriguing, and ultimately was hard to continue with because it's very hard to have the facilities with lithography. I think when I think back about the kind of work I do in printmaking, it always seems to be something that's fading away, something that's kind of ephemeral, but I think it's going to be around for a long time. I'm a printmaker that probably thinks about printmaking, maybe about everything that is in the boundary of traditional printmaking and also outside it. What can it be? What can't it be? So, unlike Shirley, I think, I'm less technically interested and more conceptually and philosophically interested. So that printmaking becomes for me a kind of meditation on something. So I'm trying to think of a good, easy way to talk about liminality. I like spaces in between. I think a lot about surfaces, what's in front of a surface and what's behind it. And I've been working with glass and transparency in installations for a long time. So much of my work is on glass facades of museums and galleries. I use photographic images quite a bit, and when the sun comes in, very eco-friendly, you are left with projections during the day, and also there's a kind of glow from the light inside, the ambient light inside when you're outside. So the architecture becomes a framing device. So what's always been interesting to me is that both conceptually and philosophically is that sort of dance between the interior and the exterior. So the pieces that you chose for this exhibition is something I audit classes at NYU because I can. We have an affiliation, my university has an affiliation with them. So a lot of times I'll take a photography class and I'm not really sure exactly what's going to happen in the class. People want to own it somehow, so there's graffiti on it, and unlike the new cars, people are scratching into it. Sometimes they put their name, sometimes there's dust there. So during this class, I was taking a medium format class, and during rush hour, to make it really difficult on myself, I had a tripod and a camera, stuck it right in front of the door so that when it opened, I had to move out of the way. But I was photographing the stillness in the car and the passing scenes outside the windows. And the reason I stopped at this particular image was because it had the word G, as in gee whiz or golly gee or whatever those expressions are. And I liked the idea that into the plexiglass, this word was scratched. I'm focusing on the word, but there's a kind of dreamy outside kind of quality to that. And so I was thinking about, a lot of thinking on a train, was thinking about Duchamp, who I go back to many times, and In Advance of a Broken Arm and The Shovel. Well, scratching into plexiglass is in advance of a print. So, if I smeared ink across it, put my hand on it, it would become a print. And so that was a kind of golly gee, moment, I think, with that. But it was really interesting to, I have about 60 of these. One says G, and I forget what the second one says. I think it's my son's initials, which just happened to be there, and I liked that quality as well. So I think that aspect for me is the process. It's not so much the technique, but the process allows me to think over a period of time about me in the car, the movement outside, life passing, where I'm going, where I came from, and it's a really interesting kind of meditation for me. it's funny because I think when you go and look at work that you're doing now, and maybe you present it, I don't have slides here, but maybe you present it in a lecture, it feels like it's so straightforward. But at the time, who knows? You know, there's an intuition, the hair on the back of your neck goes up, I must do this, let me try this, and then you put it away someplace, and it becomes, for me, I think, a language. So some of the work that I'm doing right now has a lot to do with that, both something by chance and also something formed. So it's kind of a found, formed aspect for what I'm doing. So I just rented a studio in New York for 4 months, and I've got about 130 different kinds of framed images. Some I've done, some I've found, and I'm really looking at the language within these prints that I'm doing. So I think for me, printmaking is really this layering is also metaphoric to me. I love the layering of spaces. I love that deconstruction of the mathematics that you were talking about, this deconstruction and reconstruction of space, of technique. I've been working with historic photographic processes as well, uranotypes using uranium, interesting, calotypes, albumin prints as well, and sort of seeing how they are like prints to me and how they're quite different with them. So it's a little obscure sometimes, I think, when one looks at my work, because it really is note-taking for me, but I think it's been an interesting process as well. And Shirley and I belong to the Printmaking Network of Southern New England, a group that's been around for 25 years. And it's funny because I think that group pulls me back into more traditional printmaking, because we do portfolios and we do books together. And it brings me back to traditional, and then I rail against that a little bit and I go out to something else. So I guess I'm a printmaker in that sort of broad conceptual way. But it really kind of grounds me. I went to it for a particular reason, and I think that the intimacy of it and that sort of sense of this platform where things happen and it's not direct, pulling something off of something else, I think really appeals to me. But I teach it traditionally. I also do monoprints, and I ask my students to kind of explore the definition of printmaking. What is it and what isn't it? And kind of go from there. So, what do you think about it? Does anybody have any questions about work? Oh, there's silver prints, by the way. It's analog, which is another sad thing, because analog photography, along with Polaroid transfers, and we did a workshop together, they're all going the way of all beautiful things. So they feel incredibly precious to me right now, just like lithography and the stones and all of that. Everything seems to be changing, you know. So in a way, I kind of like that, you know, that I'm grabbing something right on the tail end of it and trying to hold on to it in some way. So I think the choice of materials is that. But, does anybody have any questions about the work?
Joe Yerington's work is on that back wall by the way. If you haven't had a chance to really get a close look on your way out, you'll have to take a look at it. They're absolutely precious.
And I'll let you know when the next exhibition, when there's 30 or 60 of them, they might make that time frame, you know, kind of aspect. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah,
These are not photographs, they're silver prints. I don't know
well,
what that is.
they're analog, they're photography, they're traditional black and white prints that you normally would call silver prints. I'm trying to think of, yeah. They're called silver prints, yeah. So it's the traditional black and white. I'm using a darkroom, I'm using a developer, yeah. So, yeah, and it is interesting to me. You know, there's such a sadness about all of these processes that I think a lot of us love so much, that with technology moving along, everything is really rapidly getting left behind. So I used to think of photography as not really having a physicality to it, not, you know, being, I guess, how we think about digital photography right now, which it's not really about a surface. They feel so object-like now because there's a sense of the silver nitrate and the chemistry that's on there, and also the weight of the paper, that something, I don't know, there's something that has a little more weight because of the history now, and the fact that it is changing as well. So, yeah.
So basically, this is a marriage between photography and traditional printmaking?
Yes, and like all relationships, it has its up or down. Yeah, I suppose I think I use what seems relevant to an idea that I might be having, and also I use photography, I think, because I want something faster than the way I can work with my hand. It's not fast enough for me, I think. I just like taking photographs, and then I like manipulating them. Some of my other work, I'm playing around with wax. Sometimes I'm sewing into the print. Sometimes I'm doing more traditional printmaking on top of something that's photographic. But I think the photography, to me, I really think about the camera more like in the way that I think about my eye, and perception, and the lens of my eye, and the lens of the photo, the camera, and how it shifts what we're experiencing. So I think there's always something for me that makes sense, that sense of capturing right then what's going on in front of me. I probably could do a traditional drawing of something I saw out the window of what I'm photographing in those, but I think there's something about photography that has that sense of you're kind of there but not there, so that's just something that feels right to me.
So you then would consider yourself a photographer, and then the photographic print becomes manipulated, or
I'm
the
probably,
creative process develops from there
yeah,
into what you see as your end result.
Yeah, it's hard for me because I'm doing a lot. It's more interdisciplinary for me. I do architectural work, so it's a little more sculptural. I think sometimes of my work, like as if it's books, so they have a kind of sequential time-based quality to them. So I'm a little leery about defining. I am a printmaker, I'm a photographer, I'm an installation artist. They all sort of move together for me in a way, and I think it's more about the idea and how those follow a thread, and kind of, I think it becomes more clear the more work I do, so I really see that kind of moving ahead. I love traditional printmaking. I just feel like this gives it, for me, it's more fluid in terms of the way I'm thinking about ideas and how I want to process those ideas.
So maybe it's more appropriate to classify your niche as artist
I think so.
and teacher.
Yes. That would be good. In that order. Let's put it this way. I don't like to be classified, but it's closer than there's printmaking, bookmaking, and I think as an educator that I am presenting the classroom as a more of a laboratory, and that's how I approach teaching as well. So it really informs what I'm sharing with students. I like the dialogue, actually. What I like about teaching is just the discussion that goes on and what happens in a classroom. So I think that's interesting. Someone had a question back there too. Yes.
I just was looking at these here, and they look like they're going into a tunnel. And then I saw like clouds, and I saw a lamb. I was thinking how appropriate for the march going to April, coming out like a lamb.
Could
I
be.
don't know if you even meant to capture that, but I could see that.
Isn't there something about the lion and the lamb going in like a lion? Like a lamb, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think there is that sense of that. I think with the doors in, since this is a train, I think of the doors kind of like a book too. They open and close. So maybe I'm a bookmaker, I don't know. But it has that sense of opening and closing too. And I like that aspect. So there's a lot of kind of more abstract formal ideas for me. This looks like something else, and then that starts to click a little bit with what I actually want to see with the work itself. But There is a motion, time, life is going too fast kind of quality, probably to everything I'm doing. I just want to try to capture it while I'm here, you know. So I think, going back to the photography, that I want to get those ideas out really fast and think about time passing and how to still that time to consider what's going on in front of me. So that's part of the reason that I'm doing the work.
I saw a mantle in each one. Like the border, reminded me of a mantelpiece.
Yeah, it has. It might even have a little bit more of. I have done work in sanctuaries as well in Europe, and there could be that kind of quality as well. You know, of kind of altarpiece or something. So I'm sure it all comes together in a conscious or kind of unconscious way. So.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.